misses and misters, here's your daddy-o with the sounds to go. No shucking, no jive, and I'm telling you, your music's arriving. Ha ha, what I say. It's
Hello there. I'm Largo. This is Lair. That is Wilhelm. And welcome to a special edition of the Infinite Playlist, 70s edition. That 70s show, if you will. We're going to groove to some 70s stylings just because why not? It's the 70s. It's fun. It's cool. It's hip. It's what's happening. And, you know, kind of like they say about the 60s, if you remember it, you probably didn't live through it. You know, Will and I are Gen Xers. We were kids during the 70s, but we listened to a lot of this stuff in the 80s and 90s and whatnot. And many of these tunes you've probably heard, may not know who the artists are, but we'll fill you in with some goofy trivia and whatnot. But first, let's introduce our stellar guest from a galaxy far, far away of total sassiness. Here she is.
Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, Allison Troy. How are you?
Hello. Wilhelm, I thought I detected your foul stench when I was brought on board. Good to see you both.
Good to see you. You are our only hope of keeping the class level a little higher on this show.
Then we're doomed. We're all doomed. No.
I'm loving the buns. I'm loving the Leia. I'm loving the 70s. This was a special request from you, my dear. What prompted the 70s vibe for tonight?
Wow, my birthday is coming up, and I was born in the 70s, and it just last time I was here, like I had to cut a lot. You know, like the gauntlet that was making that playlist last time. There were a lot of 70s songs that got cut that to me were like quintessential. So I just sort of went and took all of those and set those aside and said, I will bug Wilhelm and Largo at a different point and we'll make that happen. And surprise, here we are. So
cool.
I would say there wasn't one song, maybe one song on it that I couldn't recall. Like as soon as I heard it, I knew the words, like I knew the song, and I was like, I can't recall when or how, but it's in there, and it was great.
Well,
It was a great trip down memory lane, and
some
it
of
really
these are
gave me a really great appreciation for some of those hits of the 70s. I really enjoyed them.
I
Yeah,
mean,
a
some
lot
of
of the.
these. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say some of these are so classic. We've heard them in 3,000 commercials a million times over.
Yeah,
That's true. When your favorite song becomes Muzak, then you know you're getting old. That's not a good sign.
Yeah.
But
Or
yeah,
is it?
well, I don't know. That is a debate for another day.
Yeah.
I
Right?
enjoyed a lot of these. I was telling Wilhelm a lot of these are kind of like background songs I remember hearing as a kid on the radio or wherever, but I never really took the time to get a deep dive into the lyrics or the story behind the songs. Another reason we enjoy doing this show is it gives us an excuse to see what people were thinking when they were putting this stuff down, and there's some interesting stories behind the songs we're going to look at
yeah.
tonight.
I will bring up
And a lot of
one,
Coke.
one really important point is that we recommend when you're watching this back, go ahead and open another tab in your browser. Click on the link in the description of the playlist and just turn that volume down just enough so you could still hear us talking. And it really does enhance the viewing pleasure, if you would say so. And I will say also, you might want to just jump over there because a lot of these videos are like TV performances or live performances of it, and you get to see the artists in the era. And the outfits are wonderful. The hairdos are spectacular, and the music is just great. And every one of them seems to be really enjoying themselves. One musically and entertaining, and it's just great. I was
going to say I don't own any rayon. I don't have a leisure suit. This was the 70s ish shirt I could find in the closet. So, but yeah, a lot of the stuff that we're going to be exploring is very interesting. It was a fun time that I think we've kind of lost in the age of cell phones and the internet and public scrutiny. That back when you didn't have to worry about everybody taking a selfie or putting your stuff on the internet, you could go out on a Saturday night and get a little wild, and it wasn't so bad. I don't know.
Well, I mean, what was it? Studio 54?
Oh yeah,
you definitely would not want cameras in there.
No, especially not in the bathroom areas.
Yeah, definitely not. Well, like how would you get a picture through all the snow? So,
it was definitely snowing in those days.
Yeah, there was snow flurries all over the place, all over your face, up your nose. Other places for some people, once they were like, my nose is about to fall off. So
maybe that's why it looks like they're all having such a good time performing.
Oh yeah.
There is something to be said for recreational pharmaceuticals. Tonight, I'm not doing any of those, but in the spirit, I am doing a little bit of Malibu rum, which is about as 70s as I can feel.
Yeah.
So totally not sponsored, but cheers.
If they want to sponsor you,
hey, I wouldn't say no. But,
I wouldn't say no either.
Happy birthday to both of you. Wilhelm will be having an April birthday as well.
Yeah, just like a week after.
Birthday.
So happy
I'll
birthday.
drink to that.
We know what our parents were doing last summer.
Yeah, right.
That's right. Many of these tunes may have been part of your Inception.
Right?
Conception. Yes.
Conception, yeah.
So let us look at the musical dossier of the retro toy princess. Here we have the 70s playlist. A lot of fun ones. A lot of these are songs I've heard, but I didn't know exactly who the artist was, or maybe I knew the artist, but I didn't have all the facts together because it was just, it's something you hear on the radio.
Ah.
So let's dispel some of that and start with a classic. I love Blondie.
Oh yeah, Debbie Harry classic. And again, this is because this one was ahead of Heart of Class, ahead of Dreaming. Like the next like 30 or 40 songs on my list, there's like 7 Blondie songs up in there. Because this also, the playlist was also this that I pulled from was also the same year I listened to her autobiography on Audible, on which she reads herself.
Nice.
Wow.
So it put me in the mood to listen to and re-listen to her stuff.
Yeah.
But it's
This
also
one almost doesn't qualify because it's very late 70s. We're getting more
very late.
into the new wave pop kind of sound.
Yeah,
But
this is got that bridge though between like
Yeah.
70s, sort of the punk pop thing that started happening that became new wave. And I know Blondie lasted into the early 80s, but they're just such a 70s band. I remember this is one of my uncle's favorite. Partly my uncle who moved to New York. This is one of his favorite bands. They were there were many reasons he was in love with New York, but like Blondie was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
That was their stomping grounds, like, and just this song is just so late 70s for me. Like I remember being really little listening to it, like while my uncle would be dancing around his room with his friends, like sort of just sitting there.
You can't hear that guitar riff and not feel something. I mean, it in the first couple of bars. It's like it's a classic song. Everybody knows it. It's been covered by a lot of folks, but God forbid it's even been in a few commercials.
I've never heard a cover of this one though that comes close. And I'm not somebody who, as like I'm not somebody who believes there's only one definitive version of a song.
Sure.
I just have never heard a cover of this that actually captures what this song is. So
that's fair.
Yeah, and I like when artists, even the recording artists, will do a live performance and switch things up a little bit. I like that. It's more fun to me.
Yeah.
Another thing about Blondie that I really appreciate, this was before auto-tune and everything being tweaked. She could actually sing her songs live on stage without, adjustments.
Well, they cut their teeth in live shows. I mean, they were definitely, I think, and it's been a bit since I listened to the autobiography, but I do recall, and this could be a misremember because I'm old, but I do seem to recall that there were some concerns in the early days they wouldn't be able to replicate their sound in the studio because it was so raw, it was so live, it was so in the moment. But they did, obviously, because they, blew up or whatever. Like even for now, like they're still pretty. People still know who they are. They're still releasing new music, and I think they released a new album like 5 years ago. Within the last 5 years.
Yeah, they're still relevant and still. Right? Yeah. One thing I did not know about this particular song was that it was written by Debbie Harry and her friend Nigel about one of Harry's ex-boyfriends who became a stalker.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like before it was a cultural thing we talked about. And the song was there.
So he was obsessed with her, and obviously it wasn't working out. She broke it off with him, and he just wouldn't take no for an answer until she just put her foot down. So she wrote a song about it, and this is it.
That is sort of a side note, but relevant to the song. That is one of the things that I found interesting about her autobiography. There were stories about relationships not working out, but there were no stories where like she would say like that ever ended. I just stayed too long. It seemed like the issue was maybe that there may be a time or two where she didn't stick around long enough, where she just got out. I mean, obviously, if you stalked her, like good call there, but she was very empowered, like, which for the time is I think part of what I picked up on, even as a little one, when I would watch her, is just that, and you can see it now when she performs. She's obviously her age, but like it happened I've never seen them live in concert. I've watched them live on television, and I remember watching a concert where they all got up there and they're all old as dirt, right? And I remember thinking, more old people proving that they should retire. And then about halfway into One Way or Another, she hit a chord, and it was like the magic. It clicked, like everything exploded, and I'm like, okay, never mind. I was being a bitch. Like Debbie Harry has it, and there it is. Like
There
she
are
just
some artists, yeah, that do not age well. Their voices can't hit that
yeah.
same range or pitch. She's not
Sure.
one of those.
It
And
was
it
like her body quivered, and all of a sudden there was Debbie Harry, and it was
she
just
hit
like
it.
that.
Yeah.
It was like magic. So
I feel the same way when I watch Heart, when you see the Wilson sisters, or, when they were still together, or Joan Jett even.
yeah,
I laugh at kids now, anybody under 30 who says, oh, women are so empowered now. It's like, did you never hear of,
yeah.
Joan Jett and the Blackhearts? It's
There's
like,
more room for empowerment now, which like
yeah,
because we had Blondie, we had Joan Jett, we had like Heart, like we had there were like Joni Mitchell, like
mm,
different sort of genre of music, and but Joni Mitchell put up with some shit, and she had to
oh yeah,
cut, like she had to cut a bitch or two along the way. But like these were the trailblazers that made the room for like the Go-Go's, the Madonna, and Cyndi Lauper, and they in
exactly.
turn cut a bigger path for the 90s with Liz Phair and Sheryl Crow and like Alanis and
Yeah, a lot of people don't
Courtney Love.
realize there was an absolute glass ceiling for female artists, especially in the 40s, 50s, and
Yeah,
60s, that was shattered by some of these standout artists that said, I'm going to make an album that's going to kick the butt of all these other male performers going out there. Catch me if you can. And
yeah,
yeah,
and it just every generation of like new artists has sort of advanced that even further. So
yeah,
I think empowerment is that thing where people have to step back and look at it. For the 70s, they were incredibly empowered. They're still really empowered for 2024. It just doesn't look the same to someone who's been empowered since, like childhood, like
right. And it's nothing against, your Swifties or,
yeah,
people who are into Miley Cyrus. They're great, but
yeah,
they're not trailblazers. That trail was already blazed long
yeah.
before they
They
came
they
along.
they blazed a different trail, and it's like that's cool. Give them props for that, but don't misunderstand what their trail was. Like
Yeah.
Taylor Swift has sold more records, I think, than anybody except maybe like Michael Jackson and the Beatles. Maybe she could be more now. That's a different trail that she's blazing. So like that shouldn't be taken away from people who blazed trails that enabled her to sell that many records. So
She's very savvy about dealing with the industry in
yeah,
ways that other artists have not been.
exactly. And like that's her thing. And like I will, in 20, 30 years, I'll still be here because it's going to take a lot to get rid of me. But I'm not going to take anything away from Taylor Swift and the new group of like female empowered artists are hitting because Taylor Swift is here doing her thing, blazing a certain trail that's going to enable the next generation to get a little further, and then that generation will have theirs, and they will get a little further.
Yeah. And as far as, there's that meme of all of her best songs come from her tragic relationships and breakups. It's like she didn't start that. Blondie and all
That's
these
music.
other gals were there before. It's like
I mean,
every great song is usually
it's
come out of a
about
terrible, it's
yeah.
like you look at Adele or any other great artists from the last
Yeah.
couple of
The Rolling
decades. Like,
Stones, like half
yeah,
of the Rolling Stones songs are about like not being able to get any. Like, come on, guys. Like,
yeah.
let's not
So
over
there's
the Beatles. I want to hold your hand. Like one of their first big hits. It's about wanting to hold somebody's hand. So come on.
nothing new under the sun. But I
Everybody
really love
wants
this. This is a quintessential
Yeah.
Blondie
Oh,
classic. And
as soon as it
Heart of
starts
Glass is
playing,
good, but
it
I think
just
I like this one better.
this one just hits. Like this.
Yeah.
I mean, the album it's from is also just from start to finish
Yeah.
a
Parallel
great
lines.
album. But like this song just it's a little bit above and there's more emotion to it. Heart of Glass is amazing for what it is. It's great. You will never replace it. It'll never be less awesome, but it's just this one hits bigger in
no,
my
Yeah.
yeah.
What were you going to say, Will? Sorry, we
No,
cut
I
you
was
off a
just
bit.
gonna say from the second it starts, you're in for the ride, and it and
Yeah.
it just keeps going through the whole song. It's such a great song. Excellent. Every part of it.
You cannot help but be in a sassy mood after you listen to this.
When it's like a drive fast song, it comes on and you want to drive faster.
That's true. So be careful if you're in a speed zone.
Yep.
Another classic female empowered duet with the Wilson sisters, but Straight On, another classic song that hits all those classic rock vibes, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and what I like about this, and this is I think the first song where I noticed it, but this one accelerates. Like it starts and then it just gets faster and faster and faster as it goes. And I in general like songs that do that. And this is the first one I remember hearing that happen in as a kid, and just being really fascinated by how it's like it's unrelenting. It gets faster and faster, and it's like,
yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Coming straight on for you, like.
Oh yeah, and it's definitely there in the lyrics. It's there in the way that the song is arranged. A lot of the other stuff on Dog and Butterfly was kind of more mellow, laid back. This one just says, no, hold my beer.
Yeah,
we're gonna rock the house.
It was, and that's what I kind of like about this album is like there's a lot of it that's very sort of spins out of I don't want to necessarily say the softer side of Dreamboat Annie because it sounds almost like a diss, but there's kind of like the gentle folky side of Dreamboat Annie, and then there's the Zeppelin of it, because that's one, their influences were like Zeppelin and folk music, and like Dreamboat Annie is that like 50-50. This has a little bit more of that folk music, but then you get to Straight On, which you can see the Zeppelin roots, but this is also, in my opinion, where like Hart really like Anne's voice really starts. She's not really trying so much to like replicate a Led Zeppelin sound, and Nancy's guitar here starts really being its own thing, especially on Dog and Butterfly. The arrangements just feel even more 100% their own.
Yeah, like they found their own rather than kind of being influenced by or trying to emulate something else.
Yeah, this is sort of where the Heart sound, I think, really becomes sort of their 100% own thing.
Yeah, it's really cool. I did not pick up on the speed thing, but that is something I'm going to re-listen to now. And
yeah, I thought it was interesting that Anne called this their first dance song. So it's like they kind of had that disco vibe in their head. It's late 70s. That's still a thing. And that hadn't really been something they had targeted, but it just kind of worked with this song.
But yeah, it has sort of that beat to it. Like you could, maybe not go full ABBA on it, but you could definitely like, it's definitely a warm up to like full ABBA. Like,
that's fair. I love ABBA.
I do too. Quick disclaimer, because there is no ABBA on this list. If I had been able to cut 3 songs from this, we would have had Andrea, True Connection, More, Shake Your Groove Thing, and ABBA. And I just put ABBA because any ABBA song is ABBA. Like, so.
That's true.
So, for those wondering where those 3 70s classics are, they just barely,
Well,
it's like I'm very secure in my masculinity, but I totally am a sucker for those goofy movies that were all basically a love song to ABBA, where they did. Is Glenn? No, not Glenn Close. Who was the actress? You know the movies I'm talking about, where it's like,
Muriel's Wedding was one of them, where completely doesn't exist. I mean, like ABBA is her favorite band, and they do all the things. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, had a lot of ABBA in it, and there was one other one I'm trying to think of. Not Mamma Mia, because every time.
Yeah, Mamma Mia was more of a rock opera thing anyway. Did it start on stage and then became a movie?
I don't remember. And then they put Pierce Brosnan. I have a cat who's no longer with me. I love you, Henry. Wherever you are, I'm sorry I made you sit through Mamma Mia. Every time Pierce Brosnan would start singing in that movie, my cat would leave the room. He would,
Bless his heart. He tried.
He would be passed out. Cat like purring and snoring, and Pierce Brosnan starts singing, his head perked out, trot, trot, trot.
Or what's his name? Skarsgård.
He's in his
Great
Pierce
actor,
Brosnan
terrible
job
singer.
back
Yeah.
in the and this is in the age of auto tune, so there was no reason to not underdub, overdub, auto tune it, and fix that nonsense.
That is true. But
So,
it's cheesy popcorn fun if you love
yeah.
ABBA.
Oh yeah, ABBA is the best. We could at some point, let's just do a whole ABBA episode.
Sure. I'm down with that. You could do a whole hour just on their fun stuff.
Oh yeah.
But back to Heart.
Yeah.
This is something I didn't realize. Straight On is a reference to gambling. All of the references in this song are talking about gambling metaphors, talking about how gambling can relate to your love life. I did not know that.
Yeah, what the winner don't know, the gambler understands.
There you go. So that is our bit of wit and wisdom for Heart. Let's move on because we're dragging.
Oh, yeah.
Another surprise for me. I mean, I heard the song. I never really connected that it was Ace Frehley's solo excursion away from Kiss.
Yeah.
I must say, I love the original lineup. Ace is my favorite. You know, you gotta love, he had a much more approachable and fun vibe as a person compared to Gene Simmons and some of the other guys that have been in and out of the band. He's just a cool dude. And this song was total glam rock. He was unapologetically just going for it. He wasn't trying to be a hard rocker. He's just like, hey, man, I like this sound. And everybody else said, yeah. So,
well, what's interesting is I remember when this album, all four of them came out. It was all on the same day. They were a picture disc.
right.
And we went to the record store. It was packed because Kiss was the big deal in the 70s. For those not there, it was huge.
Oh, yeah.
And Ace Frehley, they only had Peter Criss and Ace Frehley left. I had wanted Gene Simmons because Gene Simmons was that was who I had the posters of on my like 3 and 4. I had Gene Simmons and Star Wars on my wall. It all will start making sense, I think, from that. And I was disappointed. And then almost 50 years later, because 1978, the only one of those 4 albums, because I have them all now, of course, the only one that's any good is this one. So
that's fair. They were all kind of interesting. It was, Kiss trying to monopolize on their popularity at the time. You had the Kiss dolls were out. You had Kiss lunchboxes, Kiss everything, and they were a thing with their kabuki makeup and the whole stagecraft. It was fun.
Pageantry of it. I will say, I think part of the reason this lands is one, Ace didn't want to do the album, so he literally just did whatever he wanted in the studio and had fun with it. Whereas the other two really were trying to show that they were the best of the Kiss. And Gene and Paul, part of, I think, the reasoning was like, well, we're the only good ones. You guys are nothing.
Ha! Yes.
So ours will sell better than yours. And his is the only one that had any sort of chart. This is the only one that hit the chart. But also, again, I had Gene Simmons posters on the wall. But I think of the 4 original members of Kiss, the only one who is an actual musical artist is Ace Frehley. I think the other 3 are great musicians. They have 2 of them have great marketing skills, and then there's Peter Criss.
Yeah,
I would say
as a non-Kiss fan. Not that I wasn't a fan. I heard on so many. It's the Infinite Playlist that's actually taught me a lot of this. Was obviously aware of them, had the comic book, watched the TV show, knew of them, but was not very familiar with the music. But what I've come to realize is the way they look and the way they sound are don't make any sense to me, because I'm shocked every time, because this is the 3rd or 4th time a Kiss member's been on the Infinite Playlist. Of course I've heard this song before, but I never associated it with Ace Frehley. So just interesting for me. And, I've been pleasantly surprised by a lot of their music, where I'm like, actually, I did like this song. I just didn't know it was Kiss. It was just playing on the radio or someone had it. And
Yeah, it's like everybody knows Detroit Rock City or, some of their other stuff.
Shout it out loud.
Yeah, they are very much about the hype. Gene Simmons is a master showman. I wouldn't say he's a masterful musician, but yeah, I'd say Ace definitely was kind of he was the quiet force that actually knew what he was doing behind the scenes, and that may have caused some controversy in the band.
Yeah, Gene Simmons is a mediocre musician who is a masterful showman and a masterful marketer.
That's true.
And I will give him props. And again, his posters were on my wall for a reason. So props to Gene.
Yeah. The more I listen to Kiss, and again, like Will, the Infinite playlist has definitely put a spotlight on them for me, where I kind of knew some of their hits, but I wasn't really deep into Kiss. Now I'm like going back going, yeah, some of these songs are really good. Yeah. Ace is my favorite.
Yeah, I would say this is a great song. I really enjoyed it, and just pleasantly surprised by most of what they do.
Yeah, and again, useless trivia behind the scenes. Ace was very happy to write a song about some of his favorite people he had met on the street. Some of them happened to be hookers.
Yeah.
And it was just like, hey, there's a groove to New York. There's a way, there's a hustle, there's a way that things work. And he worked that into the song, and it just totally fits. And he's like, hey, I don't judge. Whatever you got to do, man.
I will also say when we went in 1996 we went to I think the Houston Astrodome for like the reunion tour where they put the makeup back on.
Nice.
And it was the original lineup back together. When this song came on, like, my memory is it got one of the biggest reactions out of like everyone assembled in the Astrodome. Like, I think it was the Astrodome. It was something. It was in Houston. It was giant. I think it was the Astrodome. But anyway, got the biggest reaction, even bigger than when they flew Gene out over above us
on the wires. Oh yeah,
and he blew fire. It was this song, and I think there's a reason for that, because it's not the hard rock that they were trying to do at the time. It's just it's funky, it's groovy, it's fun. It's a fun song.
It's fun. That's it in a nutshell. It is a fun song. And even though it came from his solo album, it definitely became part of every Kiss concert after. Yeah. To this day. I mean, they keep saying they're going to do the final tour, but God knows they're going to keep touring forever.
They're not going to stop until... I can't even say till Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. I'm sure they have already figured out animatronic replacement.
We're going to see Walt Disney animatronic.
Yeah, we'll get the Disneyfication of Kiss to the next stage of it.
Either that or holograms like Tupac. Who knows?
Sure.
Moving right along. Another favorite of mine that is kind of, I think, a sleeper with a lot of folks is Supertramp.
I think this was my favorite song on the list.
Yeah.
Really liked it. Yeah.
It's a song everybody knows, but most people don't know who did it. Again, you start hearing the synthesizer and you're like, I know the song. It's very catchy. It's got a very cool melody. But when you actually stop and delve into the lyrics, it's like, whoa, this is deep, man.
I woke up. I can't say it was like right when it came out, but when I was pretty young, in the middle of it, and my parents, of course, as mentioned on the last episode, would often be up late with friends over listening to records. It was the 70s. It's kind of what you did. My parents were young. Like, like my mom was 15 when I was born. My dad was 17. So like, I'm 3, 4. They're 18, 19 doing 18, 19-year-old kid stuff, listening to records.
Right.
With their friends, probably smoking a little of the devil's lettuce. And that's confirmed. I know what like sour cream and onion chips does not cover anything, people. Anyway, it just makes it so
or patchouli.
Oh my God, definitely not. Anytime Mossman, the action figure from O2, would come out, my mom would be like, that doesn't cover anything to my dad. And then I'm like, no, it's Mossman. Anyway. but this one also sort of has a little bit of like the speeding up of the lyrics. I noticed that listening to it this week in prep. Like when he's sort of listing off everything, he sort of speeds up a little. But I woke up that night like 4, maybe 5, and it was it's a little creepy of a song. Like it's a little eerie.
It can be.
Yeah.
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 So,
But I like it. I like
yeah,
it.
no,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
dig. I like.
I know what you mean, but when he's kind of like rattling the stuff of it, it kind of goes, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But that's what I like about it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that
it's
a little
got
more-
there's that darkness to it, and I think
yeah,
a lot of good music has a little bit of darkness in it.
It kind of reminds me of that certain cadence that you have with what is that song about the modern major general from was that
Yeah,
an
it's got a
opera?
little bit. I almost you almost have to wonder if maybe he was referencing it though a little bit.
Maybe
And
it was. Yeah, there was just definitely a lot of deep thoughts in the lyrics that you wash over because it's just a funky, fun
yeah,
tune, and they're having fun with it. They're playing
oh yeah,
whistles and all kinds of goofy stuff in the
yeah. It sounds
background.
like a kazoo is in there somewhere.
Yeah, but I enjoyed this one.
I did.
And more so now that I've gone back and listened to it and chewed up the lyrics a bit.
Yeah,
He wrote this about his time at boarding school, sent away and learning about life in a very unpleasant experience. Boarding school's no fun, but he pulled something out of it that was very useful in his later years.
And my note that I made this week. The song most guaranteed to make 4-year-old me have an existential crisis in the morning. So,
absolutely.
It's like, Mom, what is the meaning of life, the universe, and everything? It's not.
and
I don't know.
she's like 17, 18, like trying to smoke some pot, enjoying the Domino's finally delivers to our neighborhood because we just got them in town. So,
Oh man, good times.
yeah.
Anywho, another one that's a song you probably know but have no idea who did it. It's
Yep.
Exile.
Exile. They
Um,
came and left as mysteriously as they arrived.
Yeah.
This one's an
Uh,
earworm. This one gets stuck in your head, and you're bopping around the house singing it, and then your wife's looking at you like,
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You're holding the trash bag?" And I'm like, yeah, just do
Well, and it's
lots
just-
of
it's
baby.
it's like it's like white boys who listened to Barry White said, "How do we make a panty dropping song?"
right.
Well, this is it. It's like it's a good song, but it's just like, wow, it's so white it hurts.
But yeah, but not only that, exactly. But not only that, like its attempt to be sultry and sexy and like all of
Yes.
that is so over the top. It moves almost into camp that for me, as
Yes.
somebody who really appreciates camp, like I
I
can't
love
help but love this.
Yeah.
Anytime this comes on, like organically on the, not that I've listened to the radio in a while, because like who listens to the radio anyway? Anymore. But when it would come on, like I'd be driving wherever in the car and it would come on, you just can't not turn it up and get into it and do the over like singing with it.
Yeah.
Get the head bobbing. It's like, to use a colloquialism, it's like if Ron Burgundy was going to pick a sexy song, this would be it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, and it's
so
it's
bad.
so. I mean, I remember even little thinking it's just so over the top, and my parent like cracking my mom up that I loved it as much as I did because it was, like
It's one of those you'll get it
I
when
mean,
you're
they
older.
loved it too. It was
Yeah.
this is my first time as a child. I realized sometimes even your parents pretend they don't like something because it's too cheesy, but they really do.
Yes. There's definite cheese factor all over this, but I kind of like it.
But you
It's a
can't not
guilty
deny it.
pleasure.
Yeah. It's a perfect 70s pop confection. Like it was this or like the Pina Colada song, and this one's every time.
Yes. Oh yeah. That one's another earworm that it's like, oh, please get out of my head.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, because you don't want to be humming it to the wrong person,
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So not much to say about Exile. This was kind of their big hit. After that, not much. Again, if you like cheesy romance or you just want your girl to giggle while you're trying to put the moves on, put this song on.
Put it on. Make it a little humorous. The ladies, we like a little humor.
There you go.
We like
You
men who
heard it
can
here.
laugh at themselves and crack a joke that isn't at someone else's expense. Remember that, gentlemen.
That is a good point. Speaking of guys who didn't take themselves too seriously, Bob Seger.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one I definitely knew very well. This reminds me of an old job I had where my partner or my boss, I was the helper, Bob Seger, every day, all day,
Yeah.
always. Just that was his soundtrack to work, and I think it was on cassette back then. But
Yeah. Probably. Oh, yeah. No.
but yeah, we listened to this all the time.
Yeah, Bob Seger's very, to me, middle of the road, good stuff. Nothing bad to say about it. I wouldn't say it's stellar in any case, but it's just a fun song.
And this one, for me, again, has that darkness. There's a little bit of darkness in this. It's a little bit of sort of, it's a little bit bouncier than Life in the Fast Lane by the Eagles, but it's sort of this, it's like that
Hectic.
same night told from more fun people to hang out with point of view than like whoever the Eagles were with.
That's fair. Definitely inspired by LA nightlife. He was hitting the parties. I don't think that was really his scene, but he was kind of being there to be noticed and then kind of looking at it as an observer going, these people are nuts. And then he wrote a song about it.
Well, he was a little bit older. Like his early career is really wild when you compare that to this, because he was really sort of like sort of mainstream pop almost, like before he sort of his 70s renaissance, like before he like had the like the short hair and the beard, and he looked like one of the folk music guys. He might have even done folk music, but it was like he was sort of like clean cut and respectable. And then the 70s came and he's got long hair and he's rocking out.
Yeah, it's like he wasn't trying to create an image anymore. He's just like, I'm just going to do me.
Yeah, he was just being Bob.
Yeah, and we like it.
Oh, yeah.
So this is from the album Stranger in Town. It's a good song. I can't say anything bad about it. Will?
I can't say anything bad about it. Like I said, from like 90, when did I work for that guy? It's like 3 years in the 90s. This is all I listened to.
Yeah.
Well, at least he wasn't popping in night moves as soon as it was just you and him there, right?
Hey, yeah.
That would have been a little uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Sure.
moving a little bit closer, rolling in sexual harassment. Anyway.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Joe Walsh, another unsung hero, maybe better known for his Eagles stuff. I didn't realize In the City was on the Warriors soundtrack. Didn't know.
Well,
Totally fits.
Yeah, I only recently watched The Warriors, and then as soon as the end scene hits and the song hits, I'm like, oh my God. And it's the good version.
Yes.
And because there are two versions of the song. There's this one that's
the same year, which
is amazing.
Yep. Yeah.
And then there's the Eagles version.
I agree. It's like, he did it with the Eagles. It was a hit on, the long run album, but his version for this, where it's just him solo, it's much better.
It's
a better
harder.
arrangement. Yeah.
His vocals, there's more emotion in it. Like it just feels so watered down. That the Eagles version is so watered down, and it feels like music already. Like, and this
I want to say it's the Eagles version is overproduced. It's like it's totally in the studio, whereas his version for the Warrior soundtrack is more like him in a garage somewhere going, hey, let's bang this out.
Yeah. Well, and the Eagles at that point were at their, like, everybody has to do something on every song version of their career, so that, Don Henley could remember he's not the best thing since sliced white bread. But
yeah, we haven't quite got into the Smuggler's Blues era yet, but they were doing some cringy bits.
But well, it's because I said, like, I watched the Warriors during the lockdown, which time is weird since then, and I had never seen it before. It's of course should be quintessential for somebody of our age. We're all in the same group, and I had never seen it. And during the pandemic, it was like on streaming. I'm like, let me just finally watch this movie because we've all heard, like Warriors come out and play.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I was
Does it
surprised.
age well? That's a
It
question.
doesn't. It does. It doesn't age well if you're looking for it to be contemporary. It ages really well if you're looking for a snapshot of New York, 1978 in a weird futuristic world. Like,
Fair. There's three
It's-
movies that I love to put together as like a Saturday smorgasbord. The Warriors, Escape from New York, and A Streets of Fire. I
And
love those three movies
those
together.
3 movies, I can not only see that, but to me, those are like Warriors, Streets of Fire, and then Escape from New York. Like, that's the progression of like
Yeah.
the timeline. Like,
And again,
that's a
great
trilogy.
soundtracks to
Yeah.
all three.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Got some John Carpenter to finish out the lovely bouquet.
Once you're
You've
in
got,
the
you
full
got your
on post-apocalyptic, you need that John Carpenter.
absolutely such a great guy when it comes to being able to put together screen scripts and also put the music to it. Maybe a little undersung. I don't know. I think people appreciate him more now than they did when he was in the
I
theater.
think now that he and his sons tour and do music, I think people are finally understanding like the total package of it. Like, they tell that
Yeah.
story all the time about Halloween where it's like the producers hated it and then he dropped the music on it and they're like, it's fine. And that was the only change, was him dropping the music in it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he took what could have been a B schlock horror film and turned it into a masterpiece with just a couple of notes. Da, 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 da. And it
Yeah.
works.
oh yeah. No. So anyway, this is the version. If you want to listen to In the City, screw
Yeah.
the Eagles.
Yeah.
Skip
Deny-
the Eagles.
I'm gonna have to go and just do a side by side comparison
Right.
after
Yeah,
this.
and then when
Just-
you do it, you'll
I'm
understand.
sure. Yeah.
Let's deny Don Henley those 3 cents of royalties and listen to the real one.
All right, when we air this, I will plug in the Eagles version into the playlist so you can
Yes.
compare,
Yeah, so
because
that
you'll definitely see this is the superior version.
you'll understand
So-
why Don Henley is not as bad as Moby, but he could be.
Ooh, yeah. There's so much to unwrap there with Moby. God bless him. But I will say, good triple header for a Saturday. Like I said, Warriors.
I like that idea.
Streets
too.
of Fire and Escape from New York.
No, those are
Definitely.
great.
Another banger that
Uh,
wasn't on my radar, but I've heard it and didn't have any idea who did it. Shirley and Co. Shame, shame,
Yeah.
shame. It's the quintessential disco, put on your platform shoes and your bell bottoms and go rock it kind of thing.
Well, and it's also in that sweet spot of disco right before it became completely overproduced. Like the end of disco, it was, and no shade to Donna Summer, but like I Feel Love and like a lot of her biggest hits were very much production songs.
Yeah.
And that, nothing wrong with that. But this was very much organic disco when it was like, it was put together in a studio, but it was almost all real instruments and not
Wall of sound kind of
yeah,
stuff.
it wasn't, and again, I love me some Donna Summer. She barely missed, more Andrea True Connection. Like that song is probably 100% Wall of Sound, put together. But this one it's organic and you can feel it. Like those are real horns, those are real instruments. It's not sort of all contained in a wall. So anyway.
This one to me feels like if you had a bunch of guys who were really talented hanging out at a barbecue and just decided to do a jam session, this is what would come out.
And then
The one thing,
let me see.
the one thing that I, once I heard it, I couldn't unhear it, was the Bo Diddley beat. If you've
Wow.
ever heard the classic Bo Diddley song and then you listen to this, it's like, oh yeah, it's totally in there.
Oh yeah, everyone, once that hit, everyone was like, let's just take that and put it in this and in that.
Yeah, sampling is not a new thing, kids.
Nope. It just was harder. It was just harder back in the day. You had to have somebody who could do it with an instrument.
Right. You couldn't just lift it from another album and plug it in. But anyway, good
That's before
song.
music was like your aunt's face.
Yeah. I would say this is one that wasn't really, it didn't put Shirley and Co. on the map because they were kind of a put together thing.
Yeah.
Shirley was a true musician, but yeah, there was a lot of studio musicians in the company part of it. But it was covered by a lot of famous musicians at the time. Ike and Tina Turner. Cher did it on her show. I actually plugged that in because I think it's a fun performance because you get to see, even though it's totally overproduced for the TV show, you get to see Cher and Tina hanging out and rocking.
Cher and Tina, like.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic, and I think it's interesting that they did that, a cover of a modern song on a network TV show that was probably prime time at the time.
Yeah.
Really just for entertainment value, just to give people something. And I don't know, it's I guess we do see some collaborations on modern TV, but
not
like
on that level. Yeah. It's like Will and I were talking about this in the green room before. It's like there were variety shows back in the day. We had no internet, we had no, cell phones and all the other distractions. So primetime TV was where a lot of people went for their entertainment. And you had these multifaceted artists, whether it be Donnie and Marie, whether you wanted to ride them or not, they were good entertainers. Yeah. You had Cher, or the Sonny and Cher show before that. You had even Laugh-In had some great musical numbers. So there was something about celebrity who could do variety.
Yeah,
that's something we've lost, I think.
Or entertainers, I guess.
Entertainers.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's lost is when because you'll hear people, oh, why was it this? It's variety shows were pretty inexpensive to produce.
Yep.
Right.
Now they just get people to do reality shows because it's cheaper to produce, but it's like I would rather a variety show. Like I would rather a bunch of little skits and some singing. Like when Saturday Night Live hit, it wasn't big because people were doing sketch comedy. It was big because people were lampooning sketch comedy and being really edgy at the time. Like they were telling the joke, not ready for primetime players because sketch comedy was happening. Donnie and Marie, the Muppets had sketch comedy happening. Like it was, they were lampooning a type of entertainment that was prevalent in the 70s.
Yeah, a lot of tongue in cheek. Even Carol Burnett, God bless her, she did some great skits that they couldn't hold it together on stage when they're they're totally lampooning other things that were popular at the time, whether they were big budget movies or what have you. We'll get back to Carol in a minute because we have one of her cohorts on the playlist. But Shirley and Co., Shame, Shame, Shame. You've probably heard the song. You may not know it by name, but you know it by the vibe.
And both videos are worth a watch. They're just great.
Yeah. And I dare you when you listen to it to not move your head, shake your ass, move those shoulders. Like it's impossible in my opinion.
That's fair. It is a very catchy tune. Another catchy tune, another earworm.
Yeah.
I don't want to overlook the Doobies. No. Scooby Dooby Doo. The Doobie Brothers did this song that was kind of out of left field for them. It wasn't their normal vibe, but it totally makes sense when you know the backstory. They were in New Orleans. They were enjoying the vibe. They were kicking back with some guys. They were enjoying some Creole and, just that whole culture, soaking it in.
Yeah.
And it just inspired them. They're sitting on the Mississippi saying, we've all read Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer. Let's write something about it. And this is what came out of it. What drew you to this particular Doobie Brothers tune?
This is sort of like a couple of the songs on this one and the last one. I woke up in the middle of the night and that melody of them, the Old Black Water, just let me hear you, that funky, just that repeat of it. Over and over like a lullaby at the end. And I would just lay in bed and listen to this at night. And it was very reassuring. Unlike the Logical song, it was very reassuring. So it's something that it would come on the radio like when I had the horrible commute It's like an hour and a half from like Austin into the country. And when I had to leave the city and drive into the bayou to get home in Louisiana, like this would come on and it would just be very reassuring. It was very like,
Yeah.
Now, did you spend time in Louisiana or Louisiana?
well, both. I just, yeah.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know. I just have practiced not having the accent, and if I even try to say it that way, then it will break and it'll just go full on. This is why I have to be very careful saying alligator.
Yes, I spent some
Because-
time in Harvey, Louisiana, and it's wonderful. I guarantee, just like Justin, the old Cajun chef. There are two distinct cultures. There is the Louisiana vibe, and then there's Louisiana for all the people that are imports. So
Yeah, it depends on which part you're in. I've lived in all parts of Louisiana at one point or another. So
yeah, I was going to say, as an adult, if you have the opportunity, enjoy a Mardi Gras at one point or another in your life. They're all fun, whether you're in the French Quarter or one of the other celebrations. Get you some Café du Monde, get some beignets and some coffee with chicory.
Chicory coffee.
It's good stuff. It is an experience. And the one thing with this song is I kind of feel like you get that flavor because they shift into the Dixieland.
Yeah.
They shift back to another vibe. It's like they were trying to make a love letter to everything they were experiencing being down in the bayou.
Yeah. Go get you some hurricanes at Pat O'Brien's and sort of wander out.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what it's like today, but when I was there in the 80s, it was a raunchy fun time.
It was
I guess
so
it's the
pretty
easiest
good
way to
in the
put it.
90s. The last time I went was like 90. Let's see, what year was that? It was for Alanis Morissette was on tour. Me and a bunch of friends went to New Orleans to see Alanis, and then we went and got, and did the perfect New Orleans evening where it was like you stumbled into your first bar at 10 o'clock at night, and then you come out at dawn as the sun rises in the middle of summer, and you can smell as the heat hits all of the sidewalks outside of the stripper clubs and the sex bars.
Yeah, I was going to say the British may have invented the pub crawl, but I think it is perfected in New Orleans.
Oh yeah, I will say there's nothing quite like the smell of puke and bodily fluids and whatnot in August humidity at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
When
there's something about the French Quarter. You can go down one street and smell fresh bakeries going and all kinds of wonderful stuff. And then, you turn the corner and it's raw sewage.
And then you're like,
gotta say, folks, never been, but I'm just making a note here.
Just don't do that. And especially if you have like 7 Jaeger bombs, 2 flaming Dr. Peppers, and 9 Coronas. That's not counting the 6 hurricanes at Pat O'Brien's.
Hurricanes, got it.
They kicked us out of the piano bar because we tried to jump on top of the piano, and
don't jump on piano.
We did get the piano bar people to play YMCA though.
Nice.
They just didn't realize we were going to try to jump on the piano and do the YMCA, so they made us do. They were like, people don't dance in here, and I'm like, it's New Orleans. We dance everywhere.
Oh yeah, college years and Jägermeister have cured me of the scent of anything remotely licorice. I'm just done. I can't.
But also if you have any sort of humility, self-consciousness, or fear of being laughed at, a couple Jägermeister or like some Jaeger bombs, maybe Goldschlager, a little bit of everything, and that New Orleans air, and you will suddenly be like, I've got adventure in me. Let's do it.
That is true. There's a certain vibe there that says no matter what shape, creed, color, doesn't matter. Come have fun. We don't judge. Yep. So there is that.
Oh, I've taken notes, and I'll let you know how it goes, guys. Because
I mean, they're drive-through daiquiri places. Wilhelm, you can get a giant styrofoam cup this big with like a frozen margarita. Like, why would you not go to New Orleans? I can't even with you.
It's one of the few places left where you can actually have an open container on the street, and this is encouraged. Drink the libations and enjoy. Grab some beads. Grab some adult entertainment, if you will.
Be respectful of other
be respectful.
people. Have a great time while you're doing it.
That's fair. So that's on Wilhelm's bucket list now. That may
now
be
it
on
is.
his OnlyFans later. We don't know.
That's right.
And moving right along, as we said, a Carol
South.
Burnett alumni, Vicki
Yeah.
Lawrence. Her one big hit, kind of a surprise even for her.
Yeah.
She was known for her comedy more than her music. This was an interesting song, and the backstory behind it is kind of trippy.
Well, there's so many. Well, one, she was pregnant, so they fired her from the Carol Burnett show.
Yeah.
Carol Burnett's husband, allegedly Carol Burnett didn't know that that's what was going on, but she got fired. And to be honest, at the time, like I don't know if they had any choice because it was the 70s.
Right.
And pregnant women, real pregnant women I mean, I don't think they could even show fake pregnancies. So I want to say, like at the time, if a character was pregnant, it was the Lucy thing where it's like
The
they
stork.
turned
Yeah.
around it, and then
Sure.
there's a baby. But
Or like with Bewitched, where they, she's behind couches and stuff. You never see the baby bump. But yeah, we were still we're kind of moving from the separate beds in the bedroom on TV shows to actually having a normal, queen size or king size. Yeah, it was a weird time.
there was still a space between the Bradys, though.
That's
Like,
true.
They were in the same bed, but there was enough room for 3 kids between them. But there was that, and then the song was rejected by Cher. Well, not
Yes.
Cher, but by Cher's people, Sonny.
This was famously turned down by many interesting artists because of its either subject matter or they just didn't see it as being a hit. For some reason, Vicki Lawrence, who was married to the songwriter, said, "You know what? I believe in this song." And when nobody else did, she said, "Screw it, I'll do it."
Right.
And it was a hit.
Did you get to see Wilhelm, the great video performance of her on a big platform on a beach singing this song to a bunch of kids in bikinis?
Was that the one? No, that's not the one in the playlist.
I don't know if it's still on YouTube, but
Yeah.
a while it was from some old variety show where they're like, now Vicki Lawrence with her big head, she's like fully dressed in the type of gown you would expect a variety show singer to be in.
Right,
It's a
very
platform
flowy
on a
70s. Yeah, it's so
platform
cringe.
on a beach with kids all around her, like beach balls.
I'll
seagulls
have
in the
to check
background.
that out because it's
And then they
definitely
zoom out from her at one point, like the reverse jaws. It's special. It's very
That's
70s.
funny.
In all the
Well,
ways.
Jim did
Now
include a small video right after the song with an interview from Vicki explaining the origin of the song and the process, which was really interesting, which then led me down another rabbit hole. So thank you for that, Jim. I did, read up on the story and everything.
Now, disclaimer, the story is fictitious, but having lived in the South, this is something you could totally have seen in the Georgia of the 70s. It's a dark song, and
sure,
I love songs that tell a story. This is a great story if you like, darker, almost a noir flavor to it. Not your New York style.
Southern Gothic.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun story. Well, not fun story, but I enjoyed the story, and there's a fun little twist in it too. That I like.
There is, and if you listen to the lyrics, you'll catch it. I won't spoil it if you haven't caught it. It inspired a movie with Christy McNichol, which was very popular at the time.
And Mark Hamill as her brother.
That's right. This was pre-Star Wars.
Yeah. I think it came out after Star Wars because it sat in development hell for a while. But Chris McNichol, Mark Hamill. I think Dennis Quaid was the love interest. Wow. Yeah, it was all-star before they were stars. Well, actually, at that point, I think Christy McNichol was on sort of the.
Yeah.
She was known. Yeah, I don't know if she was. Yeah, she'd done a lot of things. The other guys in it, they definitely became famous after. And this is kind of one of those. It's like, oh yeah, you were in that too.
Yeah.
So the movie's fun. The song's fun. The backstory with Vicki Lawrence is very interesting. I recommend checking that out. And that, my friends, is the playlist from our friend Allison.
I loved it. I think the 70s is a I need to do more deep dives into some of these bands and really listen to them because I'm really feeling it and really enjoyed every song. And I feel like I need more 70s music in my life. What's up?
Indeed.
We all
In the spirit of things, Will and I both chose one particular track that we said just screams 70s to us to add to Allison's playlist. And Will, I'll let you go first, buddy.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Joy to the World.
There it
This
is.
is the song. This is the 70s song for me. And, for a long time, I thought this was like a children's song because it was just so heavily played in my adolescence. My brother had a little, desktop kind of record player and the little 45 that you put this on, and he would play it all the time. And it was just always on him. It was like one of the first songs I probably learned all of the words to, and knew. And every time I hear it, it brings me back to that time of innocence and just joy, where I love it. And he found it later on when we were teenagers and like would play it all the time, or anytime in my home when someone would just walk in a room and maybe just start the song, everyone else would just jump in and we all knew the lyrics. It was like a nursery rhyme for me.
Yeah,
And
it's one of those. If you've never heard of Three Dog Night, have no idea who they are, all you have to do is say Jeremiah was a bullfrog, and everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I listened to it again, and I still like the song. So, and like I said, it just brings me back to a time of innocence. That's what the 70s was for me. It was my first 5 years of life. So, everything was joy back then.
Have you listened to their other stuff, William?
No, I don't. I'm not familiar with a lot of Three Dog Night songs.
The B side of this, can you hear? Was it? Can you hear me calling? Can you hear? I remember the exact wording.
If it was a popular song in the 70s, I probably, once again, like Allison's playlist, once I start listening to it, I'll be like, okay, and I'll make that connection.
Okay, well, go look up Three Dog Night, Black and White, because again, you will recognize it as soon as it starts. But that's another one of, in my opinion, one of their best. And then I also think, isn't that "Mama Told Me Not to Come" song? I believe is also by them.
I think so.
So
I would say they were very much coming out of the tail end of the 60s, a good band that could put together a sweet set. Maybe in a smaller venue. They're just fun to listen to.
Yeah. And I just mentioned Black and White because when I bought the CD for the Joy to the World song, Black and White was on there. I'm like, oh my God, I know this song.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway.
I bet you it's one of those things where as soon as it just has fallen off in my memory, and as soon as I listen to it again, I'm going to be right back there. But because I do tend to, if I go back and if I just I don't want to choose something to listen to, I'll put on like an 80s mix, a 90s mix, or early 2000s. I need to do more 70s. And
that's fair. A lot of I would say their best work was late 60s, but they definitely were popular in the 70s.
Yeah, I think, Jim, I even asked you, I said, was this 60s or 70s? Because, like I said, we just had that old record player. I'd never really looked into it or,
Released in 1971, so it hits right where it needs to.
Yeah.
So, it is a quintessential groovy tune.
It's a great one.
The one I picked is one that probably everybody knows if you've ever heard anything from the 70s. Wild Cherry.
Oh, yeah.
Play that funky music.
Yeah. It's playing in my head right now.
You can't, you hear those guitar, bow, 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 bow. Yep. It's right there. The backstory of this, Wild Cherry was a hard rock cover band. They didn't do disco. However, when disco hit, they were struggling. They couldn't get gigs, and they were actually doing a cover show in kind of a discotheque, and many of the members of the audience were, shall we say, of a certain ethnicity, and basically just shouted out, "You white boys gonna play some funky music or what?"
Yeah.
And the song was written.
Yeah.
I like it.
Also, this is my homework for both of you, but especially Jim. Later, just 1994, Kenwood commercial, Play That Funky Music, Kathy Griffin.
Oh no.
It's a treat. Oh yeah, no, it's how I knew who she was this commercial. And it's you just, I'm not gonna ruin it for you, but you
I
know
gotta
my
check
sense
it
of
out.
humor, so when you see it, you will understand why I love it. So
That's fair. I mean, she has become somewhat of a divisive character, but
she
I
has
like
been. This
Kathy
was
Griffith. She's funny.
she's
She
really
was
and
funny.
this yeah she's you know it's strange
Yeah,
times for some people these days,
that
but
is true.
but yeah, I check it out because to this day and age, when I sing along with this song, I'm singing and I'm just reliving the commercial. Obviously, I don't
I
want to
will
ruin
check it out.
I think you'll love it because it's one totally my sense of humor, but also it's hilarious to me. So
And that's what I love about this song is the guys were not taking themselves seriously.
no.
They didn't enjoy the disco scene. They were really lampooning disco and ended up making a disco hit,
Well,
which
and
is
they were
funny.
making fun of themselves a little bit too, because like
Yeah,
they play the show, somebody like scream. They could have taken it a completely different way, but instead they made a great song. So
Yeah, they had a
yeah,
good time. They leaned into it, and they were like, "Well, we got to learn how to do that if we're going to tour." So
that is true. In industry standards, this was their one hit wonder. But they hung out for quite a while and did some other fun stuff. But this is the song that everybody knows from Wild Cherry, whether you know
yeah,
who Wild Cherry is or not.
yeah,
yeah,
Well, I think we've thoroughly beat the snot out of the 70s with this playlist. This
and
was
I'm
fun.
glad we did. Yeah, thank you for that, Allison. I
yeah.
really I needed it.
Yeah.
They were 70's were groovy.
There's definitely more stuff to mine. Like you said, we can go into ABBA or some of the Ziggy Stardust or some of the
Oh my
other
god, Bowie.
flavors. Oh, Bowie's is a whole different playlist.
And
But
he's again though, he's also I don't want to say all over the place, but just genre wise, like he's all over. Sort of like this was one album by Bowie. The next album, that is not the sound he went for. He's like, let's do something different.
I would say Bowie is a chameleon in the
Yeah,
sense that he could create a sound and everybody's like, okay, this is who Bowie is. He's like, no. That was last album. Now I'm on to a new phase.
I like
yeah,
that about an artist.
Yeah. He
yeah.
he was unique.
He always wanted to do something different. Something even when it was him and Mick Jagger and Too Much Cocaine
Oh,
dancing in the streets.
that one's cringeworthy. I much prefer his collaboration with Queen and Freddie Mercury.
Yeah,
But
that was much better. But
yeah. Anywho, that's a playlist for another day.
yeah, right.
This these were
That's
some
how
of our favorites from the era of the 70s. If some of you other Gen Xers out there have some interesting playlists in this vibe, let me know. We'll do another 70s show. We'll probably also delve into the 80s and 90s at some point. We'll just see what strikes our fancy.
anytime you need somebody to come here and be sassy about music, give me a call. I'm happy
Hell
to.
yeah.
Yeah,
This is so
So,
much fun for me to do this with you too. So
oh, we have a great time, and we always
yeah.
enjoy the vibe and energy that comes from the guests that we have. You're one of our favorites.
thank
We definitely please check out the Retro Toy Princess if you are interested in delving into your artistic side, doing a little coloring, getting a little sass on the side, maybe even a
Yeah,
little
going on
Carrie Fisher
Instagram
trivia.
also. Yeah,
That's
over on
true.
Instagram where you get your
you.
sass.
Sass vault.
Yeah,
That's right. We'll put those
Within the
links in the
year,
description below.
within the year, there may be a separate channel for your Sass vault needs. So
Oh, excellent.
yeah, we might be working on something on the side. So
oh, very cool.
We
prolific.
will check that out.
Yeah.
The Largo's Lair is going through some different changes. We're doing more story vibed stuff this year, but we're going to bring back some old favorites as we move through the year, time permitting. So, check out some of the other stuff other than the Infinite playlist if you're interested in some storytelling. Wilhelm has been taking a slight hiatus just because of work and, adult stuff. But 1-8 Team will be coming back at some point, plus some other fun stuff that we're cooking up whenever we get time to record it. So just, stay tuned to that dial, kids. You never know.
Yeah, I'm just a crusty old man with some toys. Don't pay no mind to me.
That's it.
Isn't that like that's why people come and watch your stuff is because you're a crusty old man with toys.
That's true. You can't get enough of eccentric personalities.
There are way too many people trying to be chipper about toys. We need crunchy old men with toys who aren't mean about it. There are too many mean people talking toys on the internet. We need crunchy old men with toys. So
I like it.
I definitely enjoy the nostalgia vibes. I'm not afraid to tell people when I think a particular product is crapola. No. However, any words of wisdom or things you guys want to plug before we wrap this up?
Nope. I mean, just whatever. Oh, happy birthday to Allison. So yeah,
indeed.
We'll see her, or if this airs, before or after or around. Oh,
I'm being cagey about the actual day publicly, so it could be. It's all things, all times, all people. It's So it'll be my birthday when this airs, and it'll be my birthday the day after.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing about the magic of the internet is you can basically have an entire month as your birthday celebration. So April belongs to Wilhelm and Allison.
All your base are belong to us. Oh wait, that's a 90s reference. Sorry.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Time travel, it's real.
That's it. Well, I hope everybody had a fun time. I know I did.
It was a blast.
Thank you again, Allison, for suggesting this. This was fun. We'll definitely do some more themed shows like this in the future. I got nothing else, guys. I'm just going to play us out, and we'll see you in the near future.
Bye. Have a great day.